Aha! Hello everyone. Finally I've got this thing up and running properly. Now you're going to have to bear with me because I am not an expert in live streaming, as you can probably already tell. I thought I'd give it a go, see how it's going. If there's anyone who does happen to stumble across this and join in, well, great. If you don't, well, no harm, no foul. So what I wanted to talk about today it's just a quick stream really. I just wanted to talk about David Lammy. Surprise, surprise. Everyone's favourite idiotic politician is being in the news all weekend again because he just cannot keep his big fat greasy mouth shut. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, I'm going to talk about the absolute fucking clown show that he is and the absolute hypocrite that he is. So, if there's anyone out there who doesn't know who David Lammy is, well, he's the UK's Deputy Prime Minister, and he's comedy's answer to the gift that just keeps on giving. So the guy's a massive hypocrite, first off. He's one of these guys who loves to say the right thing, but never fucking does. He's an absolute waste of space, and he really is one of the stupidest politicians you will ever have the displeasure of hearing. So what I wanted to do was just go through a few things that I believe makes him a hypocrite, and then you can let me know what you think about it later on if you do happen to come across this recording. So great. So first of all, he's been in the news this week because of his comments regarding Henry Novak and his killing at the hands of oh shit, I forgot his name. Digwa, that's his name, Digwa. Vikram Digwa, sorry. Aye. He's shown how much of a hypocrite he is simply by the way he's reacted to Henry's death compared to how he reacted to the fent head that was George Floyd's death. So when George Floyd died, the whole narrative was, which was heavily promoted by Lammy, by the way, was that the systemic and structural racism both in the US and the UK, he claimed that George Floyd could be us, basically urging Britons to make noise about it. Start protests, get out on the street and let people know how you feel. He took the knee, because of course he did. This is the kind of guy he is, Now, to me, I thought it was ridiculous, because all it's doing is it was importing divisive American politics into the UK for one, which we've got our own problems. Now, that's not to say that I don't care about what happens in America. Of course I do. It's the biggest country in the world, and we've kind of got to know what's going on there because sometimes it trickles down onto us. So it was ridiculous how we went about going on about this, because I mean where you've got the context that was between Henry and George Floyd, I mean it couldn't be bigger. Floyd had a massive history of drug use, of resisting arrest, he once held a gun to a pregnant lady's stomach while robbing her. The guy was an absolute waste of fucking skin. Yet the way Lammy and the rest of the politicians in this country went on was if we'd lost a future Nobel Peace Prize winner. It wasn't the case. Now, I'm not saying he deserved to die, but I think it was a little bit over the top the way people went on about him. Whereas when it comes to Henry, well, his dad said don't say anything, so that's it. Oh, all right, we'll just shut up then. Never mind the fucking indignity and injustice of what happened to the guy. We'll just shut up because that's it. Because he imported that issue from America to here, all it did was make race relations in this country 10 times worse. You had black English people say, yeah, George Floyd's one of us, we're like him. Like, fuck off. Black British people don't get treated anywhere like black Americans. I'm sorry, but that's absolute nonsense. Anyway, that's a rabbit hole I probably don't want to end up going down. So while doing this, Lammy actually attacked people who refused to take the knee or who happened to call it gesture politics, which of course it was. That's all it was. It was gesturing. It was symbolism for the sake of symbolism. Look at me. I'm virtuous. I'm doing something great. That's all it was. So he obviously, when he attacked people, he attacked them for being disrespectful. Framing Floyd's death as a catalyst for sweeping reforms, which again, he took advantage of a situation. He tried to use that situation in America to make changes in this country, which they just didn't need to be made. Not in the slightest. I mean, if you look at how, again, a rabbit hole I probably don't want to be going down too much, but let's be honest here. George Floyd didn't die because of what Derek Chauvin did to him. Did it help his situation? Probably not. But he died of a fentanyl overdose and heart issues. The autopsy report clearly showed that. But that didn't do the left's case any good by saying that, though. So of course he just completely ignored it. If that narrative had been pushed, saying, look, actually, this is what's happened to the guy, you might not have seen as many riots, as many people dying during protests in America and stuff like that. But, the left's gonna left, aren't they? So, while doing that, Lammy also pushed the righteous anger angle as a positive force to drive anti-racism changes, which, if that phrase might spark a little bit of recognition as to what's been happening this week. Now, I can't believe David Lammy's going to make me stand up for Nigel Farage here, but I'm going to have to. Lammy was adamant that what Nigel Farage said about Henry Novak's death should never have been said. What did he say, you may ask? Well, he said that he had cold rage about it, which I would argue that pretty much everyone with a sense of decency in this country also had. Lammy claims that by saying that, he forced people to go to that Farage forced people to go to Southampton, start rioting and kicking the shit out of each other and damaging property and beating up police officers. I think that was always going to happen, David, and I think that was always going to happen. You do get people like that. You get people like that on both sides of the argument, mate. Just because it doesn't fit your narrative doesn't mean that Farage wasn't right in what he said. Jesus Christ. So, the other day on the Nick Ferrari show on LBC, Lammy was asked if he would take the knee for Novak, seeing as he'd done it for George Floyd. And he said no. He said, I think no, because he says that the family basically wanted genuine common sense policing rather than symbolism. Well, that's all anyone wants, mate. But you can't just apply that logic to something that your government's involved in. Your government has a very dirty hand in, but then be full of righteous anger when you're on the other side of the fucking argument with George Floyd, can you? I mean, all this does is shows it just shows selective empathy on the part of David Lammy, because when a black guy died, oh my God, the world's going to end, we need to be furious, we need to fight back and all the rest of this. While it happened to a white guy, oh well, like let's just sit here quietly and not say anything, yeah? You also dismiss broader concerns about policing failures, which, I mean, how can you dismiss what happened to Henry? How can you honestly sit there and not be worried about what the hell happened? Jesus Christ, man. I mean, the police ignored the fact that Henry had said, I've been stabbed. Don't think you have, mate. Is that something to just forget about, David, is it? Jesus fucking Christ. And he's continuously downplaying the idea that there's two-tier policing in this country. Yet the other day he quite clearly came out and said, well, you can't treat all ethnicities the same when it comes to policing. Some ethnicities need to be treated differently. But then has the nerve to stand there and say there's no two-tier policing. I mean, is this guy for fucking real? He's a lunatic. And if anyone's still defending the guy after this, well, I've got to ask you a question. Are you fucking nuts? How can you agree with the guy? How can you sit there and listen to what he said and say, yeah, that makes sense? Makes all the sense in the world, that, of course. So, of course, then we get to J.D. Vance, what J.D. Vance had said about the whole thing, which, I get why some people might be slightly annoyed, particularly those in government, when you've got the vice president of the most powerful country in the world calling you out for your absolute fucking neglect of your own country. I get you might be a bit pissed off by that. But let's be honest, if you did your fucking job in the first place, we wouldn't have these issues, would we? So, what J.D. Vance said, basically, was that this wouldn't have happened without mass migration. Now, Vikram Digwa, he's British-born, a Sikh of Indian heritage. He's a UK citizen. Okay, so what's that got to do with mass migration, you may ask? Well, where's his fucking parents from? India. Now, why did they come here? Any idea? Did they come here to become British? Did they come here to assimilate into society and become good, hard-working, stand-up citizens? Maybe. But did they pass that on to their kid? Absolutely fucking not. Now, does that mean any parent that has a wayward child should be punished for it? Abso-fucking-lutely it should. Absolutely they should. If these people hadn't been allowed to just come over for whatever fucking reason it is, Henry'd still be alive. So, I mean, J.D. Vance may have a bit of a point there. Not every person who comes over is a murderer and a killer or a parent of a killer or whatever. I get that. But when there's going to be some getting through, is there not a point where you say, well, let's just put a stop to all of it until we can better understand who these people are and what their motivations are for coming here? Then start letting them in slowly and surely, if that's what you need. I don't feel that we do, personally. I feel we should just fucking cut the borders off now completely. But it's not always just up to one person, is it? So Vance and others, mind, have highlighted the elite-driven cultural policies, which Lammy is a very big pusher of. Sorry, I couldn't think of my word there. He wants to be made. He wants to look good. He wants to sound good, coming up with these great policies for diversity and inclusion and all the rest of it. But there's not a fucking single part of him that thinks, oh, well, what, it might not work. It might not work the way I'm saying it will and all this. He just doesn't give a shit about the outcomes. As long as what he says sounds good, then, I'll get voted in next time. So it turns out that Lammy took offence to what J.D. Vance said. Lammy phoned Vance up to tell him he was wrong, and that Novak's death had nothing to do with mass migration. He also rejected Vance's call for righteous anger over the case. Which, again, what was it he said about George Floyd? There should be righteous anger. Which was enough to make people get out and riot, get out and protest about things that didn't even happen in this country. But, he can see it. He can have righteous anger about something, but if someone else has it, no, that's a different kettle of fish altogether, mate. You can't do that. You can't be angry at something that our government has facilitated. He also criticised Vance's framing of the Novak murder as emblematic of civilizational decline and politics of self-hatred. Again, all you've got to do is look back on Lammy's own past rhetoric on Floyd, which mirrored this outrage. He now downplays identical elements, which is, typical of someone like David Lammy. He's also downplayed the police abandonment of Henry, the false racism claims that were made against him. He hasn't brought them up once. Simply because it would implicate policies that he actually supports. It would make him look bad, you see. Listen. What happened to Henry was fucking horrific, okay? And nothing we can say or do now can bring him back. But this is the point. The things could have been done before all of this happened to avoid this happening in the first place. If politicians like David Lammy actually gave a shit about what happens in their own country, if they weren't sat, he's sat on his taking private jets to wherever he goes on business and stuff like that, and living in his, I would imagine, a very pricey house in London. If he was actually right in the thick of all the things that happened because of migration, I'd like to think that he might have a different view on it, personally. But because he's not involved, he's not in the trenches, so to speak, he doesn't see there being a problem. And this is a problem with all politicians in this country, especially the ones that champion these policies in the first place. They're not, what they put into practice doesn't affect them. It has no effect on their daily lives. It's us fucking mugs that have to put up with it all. And this is where the country is going to shit, because of politicians who have got nothing in common with the common man. They don't share our struggles. They don't share the realities of the lives that we live. Yet we're just expected to carry on regardless. They make the decisions that don't affect them but affect us. And like good little sheep, we still fucking vote these people back in at the next election. Suicidal empathy is a real and dangerous problem in all politics, no matter which country you're in. Ours especially, and I dare say in the United States of America as well. And I've just got to ask, why are we still putting up with this shit? Why are we still allowing these people to get away with this fucking absolute fleecing of this country? Maybe someone can answer us one day, but at the minute, I really don't think I'm going to get one. Right, I'm going to call that a day, guys. Nice little tester. I think I'm going to keep trying to do this. Obviously, the streams might get a bit longer. They might get a bit more, a bit more involved. Try and get some people watching in. That would be a good start. If anyone does watch this on record, thanks again, guys. I really appreciate your support. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. That would be great. It really does help out. And keep an eye out for more videos in the future. Alright, cheers, guys. Thank you.